Hi, right, now we're going to go and have a look inside this monster. We're going to be meeting Simon and he's going to give us a quick talk around, see what he's doing in here. I'm intrigued for you to tell me a little bit about what this is and what you've got in here and maybe what it was used for. And
basically got through the first offence, and that's not banging your head coming through the door. So yeah, it's pretty, I mean, I say it's straightforward. I mean, it is primarily a receive only system. It's based on the Plessey Vixen. A lot of amateurs around have probably got receivers and parts of the kit which they've got set up. I messed about with it a while back and got very involved in it, and I just happened to acquire the cabin as a Radio Shack in the garden, and it went from there really. I sold all my Land Rover collection, all military radio FFR vehicles and stuff, and I'd always wanted an RB. RB 44, which is the truck. It's Reynolds Boughton, as they call Boughton. It's not Renault, as some people think. It's Reynolds Boughton. It was a specialist vehicle produced for the military. There was about 870 of them produced. They had acquired a terrible reputation, like a lot of vehicles did. They were renowned for brake issues, and there was a brake issue with them, but they were all modified. But I think it was a 1-year battle and argument with the MOD and Reynolds Boughton to get it sorted, and they lost interest in the fleet, and I think they were mothballed off, and the Wolf Land Rover, the Titmus Land Rover, were all dominating along with the Pins and Hour and so forth with the Royal Sigs. But the Bates cabin that was originally on here was replaced for this cabin, and then I've actually acquired the Vixen kit over the course of lockdown with a lot of help from people. It's been absolutely brilliant. Bits and pieces I picked up along the way, but the purpose of the Vixen system is basically eavesdropping, and it's designed to listen to the enemy, to try and decode the data and voice interception. The main source of Plessey, which never really got anywhere, and that was part of the reason that they went to court with the MOD, and it never achieved exactly what the MOD wanted. But there are a lot of goalposts moved, I know, and there are people that know far more than me about this, but all I know is that it was probably the death of Plessey when they went to court. I think it was in the millions that it went for in the end. And the way that the system works is that you would have a rack here which would have 3 receivers in. They would be the auto acquisition receivers, and one was a data, one was an open receiver, so you could flash program it from a terminal. So one receiver could quite literally be programmed for all 4 modes by the terminal, and it could do that within seconds. So it was, you know, basically flashing the EEPROM and reprogramming it. The idea was there was a data, there was an acquisition receiver, and then there was another, I can't remember the other receiver, and they would work in conjunction with the control heads, the Watkins Johnson pan adapters. The pan adapter that you see there, now that would operate up to 3 receivers off IF, and basically early form of waterfall, so you can see the transmissions. The receiver is crossways in the back of the rack, out of sight. That is the head unit there that controls the receiver. This is the tape unit, this is the timestamp unit. So the timestamp unit effectively indexes the recording and the data. There's very little known about Plessey Vixen. There is a manual about which does detail basic commands and the basic operation and the diagnostics of the receiver, diagnostics of the head unit, but there's not a lot more that anybody seems to have seen. Now we can actually fire it up. This is the distribution panel. This was quite common in most Plessey Vixen panels, units. there should be a cover over here at the moment. So basically you have an alarm system. So if you're on a generator, between a 7 kilowatt to 3 kilowatt generator, you've got the facility for knowing that there's a failure of the generator if it's gone onto vehicle and so on. I don't know whether no, it's not. I've taken the fuse out. And then over here was your switches. Obviously this was associated with Vampire at some point because it was badged up Vampire, which was known to happen. There was one or two of these units that had Vampire systems installed, which was the predecessor to Plessey. So we've got DF rack VRC 353, which was your comms radio in the rear rack, DF rack and the Vampire unit itself. So currently on fuse 1 we have the main first rack for the Plessey Vixen. We can power up the receiver, so we'll give it a few seconds on that one. And that's now powering up the receiver in the back. We then power up the head unit, which goes through a self-test like so. Okay, there we go. We then go onto the VDU. We power up the VDU. Again, this is out for debate as to how this works. I've tried all sorts of different commands and ideas from Unix and code based, but I think possibly we may end up just putting an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi behind a generator, fictitious signal into the screen and do it just for demonstration purposes. But we fire up the tape unit and the tape unit fires up. We bring up the trigger unit and the tape does work. We've actively recorded audio over that. So then we have the preamp which we bring in. You can hear the preamp coming in. I haven't got an antenna connected at the moment because it's on the main radio, so we drop that back like so. Yeah, the tape unit. Now this, a few folks will recognise these. Maybe our kids wouldn't.
God, yeah.
You've got a big, robust.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you was going to get out of it, to be honest.
And that's what records.
Wow.
Yeah. That's just a normal tape in there. It had been a tape that had been supplied specifically for the purpose and approved by the MOD, but it's the same thing, standard cassette. Yeah, it all works. The intercom, I've got nothing connected to that at the moment, but you've got facility then to use either a headpiece, a normal telephone set, or as we've got connected to this, we can use a conventional Raycall Klansman type headset. Obviously, if there were two of you in here listening to lots of noise and signals, you don't want your other person hearing what you're hearing, and vice versa. And it gives you the ability then to also communicate back to command. Some of the units were fitted with Klansman interface boxes, so that they could communicate back on a regular intercom basis or back to the radio. But this particular cabin, I haven't found any backplates or anything on the walls or any bracketry that would have been used for that type of comms. So, but we have got the addition of, this is quite an unusual unit to have, and this is the MUX, or the connection unit for DFOM unit for fibre back to command. There's a fibre connection in the rack behind you, but generally as a rule, it would either send it back via secure on that channel, or there would be a 353 VHF radio in the back there, the VRC Klansman 353, and that in turn would have a bid 460 Sinai unit next to it that would encrypt and decrypt the data going over the radio, and then you'd send it via telegraphy or RT based on the radio. But it's quite unusual that we've actually managed to get that cabinet, because it's quite a rarity to see that cabinet in the Plessey Vixen installation. Generally you might see just a wooden plinth there, but that is absolutely correct. It's as it should be.
Are these kind of like shock absorbers?
Yeah, they're you cannot find them, and if you do find them, they are an absolute fortune. The shock absorbers on all this racking all the way through.
Wow.
So and it's bolted into the struts in the wall as well. So they're really, these units, you just wouldn't believe how heavy they are. They're solid aluminium and they're still heavy. But this is square section 5mm aluminium. It's absolutely solid. But yeah, it was a nightmare because the original bench racking didn't exist. We couldn't find it anywhere. So I've had to fabricate that out of the 40mm box section. Or is it 20mm? I can't remember now. But the only thing exactly, if you want to be absolutely perfect, was the desk for the Vixen and the baits was white. Right. White laminate on it and an edging strip, which we've got to do yet. I felt that if we were mauling kit in and out the racks and moving stuff around, at least if the edge got damaged, we could then just tidy it up and then put the capping strip on, rather than keep catching the capping strip and messing it around. But we play with commercial radio from here as well. We have the 450, we have the SU-17 as well, so we can use ham deluxe and data modes. We also have the 857 as well, but generally 857, I think we're tuned into CN at the moment. That's gone quiet now. We're tuned into the repeater here, hosted by Andy. I think that might be Steve, but we can do field events, rain net events and stuff like that, and help out. So the idea was, it not only supports the hobby with the military radio and the aesthetically correct and everything else, we've got the ability to be quite flexible with field events, and as I say, rain net events, and use it as a control post and anything else that might come up. So, but the journey down has been quite interesting. We made this a bit of a tour this week. So we started off on the Welsh Mountains up above Aberystwyth on Monday night. We were hoping to get to Kerry, I'd never get it right, just outside of Welshpool, the old VLF station. Unfortunately, I didn't get any response from anybody there, and I didn't want to sort of go barging in, just drive by or anything like that. If we can get any feedback, I might just pop back on the weekend going home. But we've come down from Malpas in Cheshire. Our first stop on Monday was the Silver Mountain Experience, just outside of Aberystwyth, up on the top of the hills there. Great night there, camped there, had a massive pile up on 40 metres. No, it was really good. Really wet night, horrible night. We then came down to Nurk. It's a, I must get this right, not a radio telescope as such. They specialise in reading the winds, and they do it by they pulse straight up, very narrow band, 90 kilowatt. I think it's on the old B band, TVB band, which I think it's about 46 megs, and it goes straight up, and they phase switch it, and what they get back is that they can monitor the jet stream and the winds. That absolutely amazing place to visit, and they were telling me about their optical laser there. They've got a big laser, goes up through a removable roof, and it can measure the atmosphere thickness and granularity and different things in the atmosphere. But they were saying it came to its own remember when the big Icelandic volcano grounded all the aircraft? Yeah, well, they are actually reading the only place that as soon as they found out they could do it, they were inundated, they could measure the thickness of the ash cloud going around the globe, and the granule sizing and everything. And I believe the aviation industry were involved, and they were selling the information off, and that meant that they could give a window of opportunity for an aircraft to dive through where it wasn't so thick. And that's how a lot of it was resolved. Obviously, if the aircraft is going to fly a long period, it's going to get catastrophic damage to the engine, but they could survive a short burst. I'm still sure that wouldn't have done any good. But yeah, from there we went to a military surplus store down on the Welsh coast, coming down to here, and had a look at those guys, and then up to a campsite again. We worked radio during the course of the evening. Then on Wednesday morning we came down to the Internal Firepower Museum. We did a tour of the radio rooms at Internal Firepower, all the Marconi Marine and Marconi base stations and the BBC monitoring station. If you get a visit to go there, Internal Firepower, unbelievable. Mike, who tends to the radio side of things there, has restored most of the radio kit and also sideband modified some of it so that it can actively be used. But they've got some lovely kit in there, absolutely impressive display. But hopefully we'll try and get some of that detailed on the channel. We run a YouTube channel which is military radio and military vehicles. We also have a Facebook channel which is Military Radio Group. Hopefully we're posting a lot of information and a lot of what I filmed on that as well. And then obviously down to HUBfest for 3 days, or until the end of the week. So have some fun with the guys, chill out, and just let everybody else do the work.
There you go.
So I'm ready for a break now.
I bet you are. I bet you are. So, you've done brilliant explaining it to everybody. So
yeah.
Thanks for your time. Just remind us again your call sign.
I'm 2E0MRS.
Okay, and your channel?
The channel again is Military Radio Group on Facebook. We've got probably in excess of, I think it's 1,400 members so far. We've got worldwide membership on there. We get a lot of active stations from all around the globe. A lot of American presence as well, which is great. It's nice to see all the different radios. We actively try and get people to talk about their radios and events in their country. Currently I'm trying to get some feedback from people about other events around the world. But the YouTube channel is Military Radio and Military Vehicles.
Brilliant.
But if anybody goes to QRZ or my call sign, they can generally find links to most of this.
Brilliant.
It's all there. All the details of the Welsh tour are on the QRZ page, so keep that fairly regularly updated. So thank you very much. No,
thank you, Simon. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real experience meeting you and getting to know this vehicle over the last 24 hours, isn't it? So yeah.
It just seems to be very popular with a lot of people, but it's nice. I think it's nice to be able to go somewhere and provide sheltered operation of radio and a decent mast. I mean, I did say to the guys, cut any wire, whatever you want to do, and just hoist it up on the halyard and have a play with it. And but no. So I mean, we're open to invitation out to anybody, and providing it's not out of our limit of expenses and everything else, we're quite happy to come out and give a chat and talk to people and. Or even get involved in any club days and events like that, field events. So guys, if you want to, drop us a line.